Hello again, everyone. This is Mike, and I'm the Portly Paladin, coming to you again for another update. So, as I was telling you last week, I had a bit of a difficult week after, baking and everything and having to deal with all that sugar, and just, it wasn't a great week for me. I ended up actually gaining a little bit in inches rather than losing. But I got good news for everybody. I did lose again this week. Got my measurements right here. And in total, I lost 7.5 inches again this week, so that was pretty good. That's a great difference, obviously, from gaining about 2 inches or so last week. My wife did something awesome for me this time, and she did a total lost since we started. I myself have lost a grand total of 15 3/4 inches. Between my wife and myself, we've lost almost 30 inches since we started with the Weight Watchers plan. So as you can tell, it's working for us. It's something that I'm really liking right now, being able to see this kind of a change. I'm definitely feeling like I have a bit more energy, and I'm a bit more active and a bit more able to do things than I ever have been recently, at least. At least since we moved into our house here, which has been almost 4 years now. So definitely a big change, something that I'm really enjoying. I think the reason that it's working this time is we've actually taken the opportunity to make it work for us instead of expecting it to be a lifesaver or a cure-all. One of the things that we did this time around, as opposed to other times that I've tried to do things, is prepping for success, is what I'm calling it. It's something that we've done since we started, and it's something I think that everyone else out there should think about doing if they want to start a program like this. We have a pretty large pantry in there, and it's got a lot of things in it, and it's had an opportunity to gather some not so great things in it since we've lived here. So when we started this, one of the first things I did is I said to my wife, we need to clear that out and get rid of all the stuff that is going to want us to cheat. It's going to give us that urge to cheat. So anything bad that was in that cabinet, we got rid of. Sugary cereals, boxed dinners that are ridiculously high in calories. Some of the worst things were canned foods, not canned vegetables and things like that, but more like your canned pastas or canned foods in that way. Soups weren't too bad. Actually, they turned out to be fairly decent for the most part, as long as they were on the healthy side. Some of them were pretty high in sodium, which is something that I'm trying to deal with because I do have a high blood pressure that I'm dealing with right now. So that wasn't so great. But otherwise, for the most part, we got to keep about 3/4 of what we had in our pantry because it was still usable with the Weight Watchers plan. But some of the things we got rid of were cake mixes and frostings, cookies, chips, the really bad cereals, like I mentioned before, the sugary type cereals. We got rid of those and cleared all that kind of stuff out of our pantry. Did the same thing in the refrigerator and the freezer. Freezer, we got rid of things like ice cream and ice cream bars. I had some frozen cookie dough in there from when I had made cookies back at Christmas, waiting for a day that I decided I wanted some cookies. I went ahead and got rid of that. I got rid of some pie crusts and things that I had in there, waiting for future meals, and frozen bread dough, which I had in there. But we didn't throw these things away. We gave them away to different people. My in-laws or my parents, friends, things like that, took those off our hands, so we weren't, wasting things. We weren't just throwing things away. We were actually giving them out. But I think that's helped us out a lot in this, not having those things readily available, kind of calling out to us to cheat. The other big things that we've done, one of the biggest, I think, especially in the case of Weight Watchers, is when we went through our pantry to get all these things out, we cleaned the entire thing out, pulled everything out, set it on the counters, and I grabbed my trusty calculator, Weight Watchers calculator, which I keep near me at all times, as you can see, grabbed this and a Sharpie marker, like this, and we went and we labeled everything that was in that pantry. Every single can, box, or anything else that happened to be, or bag, whatever happened to be in there. We labeled everything with the points value per serving. So we took things like this box here of whole grain pasta, and we labeled it with the number of points per serving. This is one of the things that we did notice when we did that, is pasta, even this whole grain pasta here, 3 points for 2 ounces. This box has almost 7 servings in it. It's 2-ounce servings. So this box has 21 points. Previously, for the two of us, we probably would have eaten about half of this box for a meal, which would be about, as I said, it has 7 servings, so that would be right there, almost 9 points just in the pasta for a meal. And right now, since we try to keep between 10 and 15 points per meal, that would have been a lot of points. Now that we know how many points is in here, I can cook more along the lines of side dishes with something like this. Just cook, you know, a 2-point serving, or sorry, a 2-ounce serving or a 4-ounce serving, just enough for the two of us to have as a little side dish or as a component of the meal rather than being the biggest part of the meal. And we also labeled things like canned vegetables. I have here a can of peas. Can of peas, based on the nutrition information on the back, is 1 point per serving. There happens to be 3.5 servings in this can, so that'd be about 3.5 points. So now I know when I make this can of vegetables for she and myself, it's going to be about 3.5 points for the can. So between the two of us, it's going to be roughly, you know, 1.5 points. Maybe 2 points if you want to go that far. I usually use a little bit of margarine. The margarine we use, that is also labeled in the refrigerator, is 1.4 tablespoons, so about a tablespoon in there. Just give it a little bit of extra flavor, so it ends up being about 4 points total, so about 2 points for each of us. This is also another example. I have a can of green beans here. Green beans, we now know, is 0 points per serving. Now, as I mentioned to you last time, that doesn't mean this whole can is 0 points. It means for 3.5 servings per this can is going to be about 2 points. Because it's, you know, for every 2 zeros you have, it's 1 point. So in this case, it's going to be actually 2 points for the can. So now I know that because it's labeled. Then we have little single serving items like this here, unsweetened applesauce. It's something that my wife does pack in her lunches often. And I eat this sometimes as well when I just have a little bit of a craving for something sweet, or just I need something. Because I just have a little bit of an edge of hunger that I'm dealing with. A little packet of this with 0 points will take that edge off, and it doesn't count toward my point totals for the day. And then another thing I have here that I wanted to show you is I have a bag of rice. Now this is long grain brown rice, which is one of the better rices because it doesn't have the bran coating taken off, so it's has a little bit more health benefit. But the thing is though with this diet is it's 3 points per serving, just like white rice is. So this doesn't have any different in terms of the diet, but we are making the choice to go with the brown rice because we know it's healthier in the long run because it has more fiber and nutrients, because that the bran layer is still on it, hasn't been taken off. So even though the points values can be the same, you can still make a healthier choice, which is something that we've done in the case of this rice. Now, if you look at the back of it here, 1 serving size is 1/4 of a cup. That's measured dry. So once it's cooked, that 1/4 of a cup is going to be roughly a cup of cooked rice. So, I mean, it depends on your liking. One of the things that I like to do with something like this is do something like a rice pilaf. I'll take, say, maybe some mushrooms, onions, carrots, that sort of thing, and saute it a little bit in a skillet, or rather a little saucepan. Add 1/4 of a cup of dry rice, rinsed first, because you don't want to get that extra starch off there, else it'll be kind of sticky. And then you put that in the pan and kind of just toast it a little bit. Add the water that the package calls for. In this case, you're going for 2 times the amount that you put in of rice. So you'd put a 1/2 cup if you're putting a 1/4 of a cup of rice. And then you bring it up to a boil, drop it down to a simmer, throw a lid on it, and then let it simmer for about 45-50 minutes to get it nice and fluffy. And you're going to end up with a flavorful rice that has the vegetables in it. Instead of water, a lot of times I like to use chicken broth, because it'll make it even tastier. You could use any sort of liquid, really. You could use tomato juice, you could use beef broth, you could use, anything. One of the things that I think I might have mentioned it in my last video, something I just got the idea of recently is using, say, coconut milk to do like a coconut rice. That would be a good choice if you wanted to do something like that. If you're looking more maybe for a curry, you could use maybe a curry sauce in the rice to make your pilaf. I mean, the options are endless, and you just kind of need to look at what's in whatever liquid you're using, so you make sure it doesn't add any more points. I mean, if it adds points, that's fine, and you've accounted for it. That's perfectly reasonable. Just make sure that if you do have extra points, you do account for those, so you know that you're not going over your point values for the day. That's one good way for prepping for success in your diet plan. Another one is planning your meals. I am not the kind of person who likes to sit down and have a full plan in place for exactly what I'm going to eat every single day and when. But what I do like to do is when we get ready for a week, I'm going to show you here what I mean. I will, throughout the week, come up with ideas of things that I would like to have the following week, and I make a grocery list. And this grocery list will include things from various meals that I'd like to have. So, for example, if I want to make the beef stroganoff, which is one of this week's recipes, it includes ground beef. I'm going to need mushrooms, and I'm going to need fat-free cream of mushroom soup, sour cream, egg noodles, etc. All of that's going to go on the list so that I know that I have that in my pantry and in my refrigerator for the day that I decide that that sounds good. Or if I were going to make the chicken hash, which is another one of this week's recipes, it's going to need potatoes, it's going to need red bell pepper, chicken. I'm going to make sure to get all those so it's in my pantry and my fridge so I can make that. Same thing with the green bean chicken bake, which is one of this week's recipes. I want to get the canned green beans and everything that's in that recipe, so I have that. And then you want to just have various things in your refrigerator. One of the biggest things that I like to make sure to have on hand are snack foods. Good snack foods, of course, like baby carrots and some of my cottage cheese dip for snacks. Or one of the newest things that we just came up with, my wife and I, we have this really good fresh salsa that our local grocery store carries, and we used to love eating that a lot with tortilla chips. Well, store-bought tortilla chips, because they're fried, can be horrible in terms of points. But the tortilla recipe that I shared earlier, a couple of episodes back, if you just cut those into wedges, spray it a little bit with cooking spray, and put it in a 350-degree oven for about 10 minutes, they get really nice and crispy. And they're perfect for dipping. Those could be used in any kind of dips, perfect for salsa. So 8 chips, if you cut it into 8 wedges, is 1 point, because that's how many points a tortilla is. 8 of those, a little bit of the salsa, 0 points, that's a 1-point snack, and it's going to be fairly filling. So having that in the fridge is good. Same thing with what I mentioned if you're pre-planning dinner meals, breakfasts, lunches. Just make sure you think about what you're going to want through the week to give yourself options. So when you go to the grocery store, you can buy the things that you're going to need to make those options. And then anytime throughout the week, you can make those options, and because you make sure you have all the things ready. So think about it ahead of time, what you're going to make, so that you can buy what you need, and then you're going to be setting yourself up for success in that way. Also, don't forget to label everything once you bring it home. If you're not doing Weight Watchers and you're doing like a calorie count, you could always just write the calorie count on here a little bit bigger, just so it's easily seen when you put everything in your cabinets or your pantry, so it's easy to see how many points there are in everything that you buy. But that's all I have for this week. I'm going to be making sure to post those recipes that I mentioned on the blog at theportlypaladin.wordpress.com. So make sure to go check it out so you can get these recipes. And I hope to see you back here next time on The Portly Paladin. Thank you.